How you doing? Welcome back. This is Rick with Winders Ranger. A few weeks ago in a previous video we spoke about the importance of taking care of your trailer tires or your RV tires. Today I wanted to cover a couple of important things in addition to taking care of your tires, and that is tire pressure, air pressure. That affects a lot of different things. That can affect your fuel mileage in your tow vehicle. That can also affect the wear on the tires pretty drastically. And we're not going to go over it today as far as telling the tread wear as opposed to what kind of issues that indicates as far as whether the tire's overfilled or underfilled. You can tell from the type of tread wear, but in this video I'm mainly going to discuss the products and tools that I've been using to keep my tires aired up on both my trailer and on my truck. And what I've done is I've installed a Viair air compressor, which is a 100% duty cycle, which means it basically can run without having to sit and cool off for a certain period of time before you can start it up and run it again. As far as the CFMs and the volume of air that it's capable of pushing, I'm not going to get into that right now. But basically we've got a Viair air compressor, and it feeds directly into a 2 or 2.5 gallon air tank. I forget what size it is now. So it's rather small. I probably should have used a bigger one. In this case it's a 2.5 gallon air tank. This air compressor is a 100% duty cycle. The tank that the air compressor feeds directly into with the braided hose, on this end of the tank it has a pressure relief valve. Forget what pressure that's set at. I want to say it's probably 150 pounds. I think that's where my pressure switch is also set at. So anything more than whatever the pressure relief valve is set at, then it'll allow that tank to bleed off the air, which is you can see on this end of the tank. On this on the far end of the tank, you can see on the outboard side, opposite of the frame rail, is a tricock. Basically you can open that up and it's for draining the tank. Ideally I would like to have had that on the low point of the tank for a few different reasons. One being the braided line going into the side of the tank. I wasn't able to use the upper port for that because of the cab support, and I had to use the lower end port to feed directly into the tank. And on the opposite side I needed something that was easy enough to hook an air line into, so I had to use the low point port on that as well. So I was limited, and I had only this side one to use on the side of the tank for the tricock. The point is as you compress air heats up during the compression process. Hot air will condense on the inside of your tank, and eventually you'll get moisture build up inside the tank. And on a steel tank you can actually corrode the inside of the tank, which is the reason for the tricock, is you would open that up periodically and drain any moisture out of the tank. Even on the side of the tank you'll be able to draw some of that moisture out. You just won't get all of it. You know, I could park the truck on an extreme angle facing uphill and leaning to the driver's side, and I could use that tricock and get probably 90% of the moisture out of the tank. On the opposite end of the tank, facing the front of the truck, we've got another view of the tricock valve on the side tank of the tank on the left-hand side. On the back of the tank, you can see the quick release for the air hose. I've got an air hose that's capable of reaching all 4 tires on the truck, and I've got about 5 feet to spare on the far side, so I can stretch that around, pull up next to the RV camper, and I can actually stretch that around the camper to the opposite side and fill the tires on the camper if I need to. Above the quick release is the pressure switch. And this particular pressure switch has a pressure rating, or it's set at 150 psi. This tank is capable of I think it was 180 to 200 psi, so I'm well below the rating of the tank, and the pressure switch will cut off the air compressor when it reaches the desired psi of that I want the tank to hold at. There were a couple of reasons for having onboard air on the vehicle itself rather than carrying an air compressor around and trying to plug the air compressor in to fill whatever tires I needed. First and foremost were the airbag assist springs on the rear of my vehicle. I have 2 airbags on the truck, and their job is, when they're full of air, generally like 15 to 20 pounds of air per bag, is to help level the vehicle to the tow trailer and help with the tongue weight of the trailer pushing on the truck, and help smooth out the ride when you're on uneven highways that have the highway joints or the road joints, and it causes the truck and the trailer to bounce independently of one another. These airbags take a lot of that bounce out and smooth out the ride considerably. The other purpose in having onboard air, as I mentioned earlier, was to be able to fill the truck tires and the trailer tires. In years past, when I first bought this air compressor, I had used it, I wasn't towing a trailer at the time, but I used it to air up my tires when I went to the Outer Banks. You drive on the beach, you have to let the tires out of let the air out of your tires to increase the surface area of your tire on the beach sand to keep from sinking the truck into the sand and getting stuck. Well, when you drive back out on the road, there's plenty of places in North Carolina along the Outer Banks to get your tires filled. The problem is you end up having to drive maybe a mile, sometimes as far as 4 or 5 miles on nearly flat tires before you're able to get air. And what that does is you're prematurely wearing out your tire by not having air in it. You're only running 25 pounds of air or something to that effect when you're on the beach. It's difficult on the tire, or it's hard on the tire by doing that. So by having my own air, I can stop as soon as I pull off the beach and I'm on a hard surface. I can pull over right there. I can jump out, air all my tires up, and away we go. The problem that I found with a 2-gallon air tank is that the 2-gallon or 2.5-gallon air tank isn't quite enough to fill one tire. So I end up having to stop periodically while the air compressor catches up as I fill that tire up. And the same thing is included with the trailer tires. For that reason, I probably should have gone with maybe a 5-gallon air tank, and I can certainly upgrade that in the future if I want to. Having the air on my truck, having the onboard air compressor and the tank and my own hose is a big benefit to airing tires. I've also got a tire patch kit that I carry inside my toolbox, and as long as it's a puncture in the tread itself, say I pick up a nail or a screw or something like that punctures the tire and I have a leak, I can stop right on the side of the road. In a lot of cases, you won't even have to take the tire off. Just reduce the air pressure, take whatever it is out, patch the tire with a plug, and within a few minutes the plug is set. I can go ahead and fill the tire back up, and away we go. We don't even have to stop or take the wheel off and go to a garage or a shop or anything like that. So it's a pretty big benefit having onboard air. I would recommend it. I don't necessarily recommend onboard air actually mounted to the vehicle. It can be expensive. I just happened to have the air compressor and decided to reuse it. One of the Viair portable air compressors, they come self-contained in a bag with all the stuff that you would need. I strongly recommend carrying something like that, especially if you're going to be pulling a trailer any long distances. You can fix a lot of your own problems and not have to rely on roadside assistance or anything like that. I'm a big proponent of self-reliance and being responsible for myself, my family, and anybody that's traveling with me. I would much rather be able to address the issue and fix it myself than rely on a tow company to come pick my rig up, my truck, my trailer, and tow it back to a shop someplace where in some cases there's more damage done in the tow process than you started out with in the beginning. So with a little extra money, a little extra time, and even some effort on your part to research and know how to use these things and how to implement them in your situation is strongly recommended. So with that said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Also, if you would, you can hit the subscribe button. That'll keep you up to date on upcoming videos and things that I put out in the near future. Again, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next video.